If you want to add a little bit of neoclassical flair into your playing, you're going to need two things. One is the easy to shred pattern I'm going to show you guys today, and two is a nice ruffly shirt. Hey there kids, it's your good buddy Uncle Ben, or as you can call me today, Yngwie Malmsteen. This week I've gotten a bunch of messages from my amazing Patreon community asking for some really cool harmonic minor sequenced licks that bring the f***ing fury, which is what brings us here today. Just like everybody else, I love the harmonic minor scale, but I hate that whenever you put it into a 3-note per string format, you end up with some really awkward stretches due to that natural 7th degree that the scale has. But in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys a pattern that I came up with a while back that really helps me avoid those shapes and keep everything in a nice, comfortable range for my mitts. I'll show you the pattern, show you the lick I came up with using it, and then give you guys some cool alternate picking tips to get you faster than a cheetah in a speedboat. As always, this video is brought to you guys by everybody who supports my channel over on my Patreon page at patreon.com/BenEllerGuitars. Sign up today even at just a $1 a month level, and you're going to get access to a ton of backing tracks, bonus lessons, downloadable tabs, and so much more. This week, everybody who supports my channel gets access to some downloadable practice tracks that I made to go along with this lick, as well as tabs. It's cheaper than a fucking donut. Also this week, you're going to get access to a very special bonus lesson to go along with this one, showing you guys how to take this phrasing concept and apply it to a descending shreddy phrase. So don't delay. Sign up today. Gear-wise for today's video, I'm using my lovely Ernie Ball Luke 3 here into the Axe FX 3, and I'm wearing this ridiculous shirt that I got on Amazon. It doesn't make me play faster, but it does make me look like I play faster. Let's hear that hot lick one more time at stepdad speed. I seriously have no idea how Yngwie plays with this shit on. Like, these ruffly sleeves are just always rubbing on the strings, like muting out notes and stuff. Pain in the ass. Okay, first things first, let's talk about the pattern that I am using here. This is based around the A harmonic minor scale. But I'm not using a pattern that you typically see for that scale. So usually whenever you play that scale, you end up with some really odd and difficult stretches, like this one, that feature like 3 frets in between a string. Those, to my hands, just don't really work when you're playing like really fast sequence licks. So I kind of rearranged the notes of the scale in a way that is better for me, and I think will probably be more better for you. Check this out. This is laid out in a 4+3 arrangement. I've talked about 4+3 scale patterns in other videos. Just search Ben Eller 3+4 or something like that. And I'm sure you'll find some of the videos where I've talked about this stuff. But the way I've got this laid out is so that you have 4 notes on one string and then 3 notes on the next. Now, instead of starting off on the root note A, this is actually going to start off on that natural 7th that the scale has, the G sharp note in this case. Okay, on the low E string, we're going to play these 4 notes. We're going to have G sharp, A, B, and C. So you'll notice as I play that there, I use my first finger for the first 2 notes. The next string is going to feature 3 notes, D, E, and F, okay? So the cool thing is whenever you arrange the notes of a scale that way, where you have 4 notes and then 3 notes, whenever you play that simple 2-string shape, that's an entire octave of that scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes. What you can do after that is then to find the octave of where you started. So in other words, this G sharp note on our D string, and just copy and paste that exact same 2-string idea. So think about the shape you had here. Now start it from this G sharp instead. So exact same shape. Then you can copy and paste that onto the next G sharp note here on the B string. You can think about the same thing. And we've now played 3 octaves of that scale, but only used one simple pattern. This is also great too because it helps you learn where other root notes are other than on the low E string all the time. This could help you learn where 3 different G sharp notes on the fretboard are, so it's good for that kind of stuff too. Now after we reach that point in the pattern, what I'm going to do here is to eyeball where the next root note is, this A right here, and remember that this scale has that natural 7th in it. So that means the note behind the root is going to be right there, a half step behind it. It's going to help you visualize the last 4 notes of the lick. So that's what the entire pattern would look like. Now, whenever I'm using these 4+3 patterns, I don't like to play them straight like that. For one, because playing straight through a scale is the most boring thing you can do musically. But also, two, you have this mix of even numbers and odd numbers, which means your picking is going to be kind of complicated if you're alternate picking it. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Then the reverse. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Down, up, down, up, down. It's just kind of a pain in the ass in my opinion. You could kind of pick your way through it, but that's not what we're talking about today. Instead, whenever I'm using these 4+3 scale patterns, I like to look at them as different ways to exploit groups of 3. Here's what I mean. So look at the 4 notes on the low E string, right? You could play that up and that's an even number grouping, but the way that I like to look at it is as if it's 2 different groupings of 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That gives us 6 notes on that string. From my experience, the more notes you have per string, the easier it is to shred through a lick because the pick just doesn't have to move around that much. So that's how the lick starts. We're going to play up 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then whenever you get to the set of 3 notes on the next string, what we're going to do is just to play up those twice. So you have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You'll notice that whenever you play through it that way, that eliminates the flip-flopping of the picking. It's always going to be starting the string on a downstroke and leaving the string on an upstroke. Okay, so whenever you play through that lick, that's the basic idea of what we're going to carry through here. Find the next G sharp note here on the D string, start right there and play the exact same lick. Again, that was turning the 4-note group into 2 3-note groupings. Then playing up 6 on the next string. Find the next G sharp note, play the same idea. And that takes us up to here so far. At this point, what we're going to do is to visualize those next 3 notes in that grouping, E, F, and G sharp, and jump up here with the first finger and play up those twice. And then resolve here on your root note A at the end of the lick. So that right there was an example of what you could do if you took each of those 3-note groupings on the 4-note strings and played up them twice before changing strings. That gives you a dirty dozen notes on that low E string, which means your pick is just kind of sitting still on that string for a while. Again, really easy to shred through these patterns whenever you're doing that. And you'll notice that as we played through there were none of those awkward stretches that you get from typical harmonic minor patterns. Everything was just either 1, 2, 4 or 1, 3, 4 fingering wise, so it makes it a lot more easier. Now let's talk about a couple of things you can do to get this guy up to speed. Okay, whenever you're learning this lick, I don't recommend playing the entire thing top to bottom. I think that is just mental overload and you're asking a lot of both hands to keep up with those patterns and the picking and the muting and all that kind of stuff. It's just a lot going on. What I recommend that you do is to break this into bite-sized bits, okay? So don't try to play the entire thing. What I would work on first is getting that first series of 6 notes down. Making sure you got that position shift nice and smooth. It might be hard to tell there, but you might notice that I'm slightly picking up my first finger whenever I make that position shift happen. It's not much, I'm just barely picking it up. I think there's something about like keeping your hands moving that keeps you in rhythm better. It's not to say that you couldn't just hold it down and just mash it the entire time, but for me, I do better whenever both hands are grooving with each other and every action here receives an action here. Now, after you get that position shift down, what I recommend doing is then work on getting onto the next string. You don't even have to play the entire thing. Just land on the first note of that string, like this. Just kind of using that D note there as kind of like your landing pad to focus on, to make sure you're getting all those notes on the low E and then successfully getting on there onto the next string. Whenever I'm playing that kind of thing, I act like I'm playing a riff. I don't act like I'm playing a lead. I'm imagining this is part of like a sick riff. Kind of makes you groove harder and play harder. Now, after you can make the transition, try to add on more notes onto that string. You've made it there, so go ahead and tack on the other 6 notes in that phrase. And after you got that down, try to focus on landing on the next starting point of the lick. And from there you add on those notes and so on. Again, just taking it step by step to make sure you're not overworking your brain and getting ahead of yourself. Honestly, what you should try to do here is to play that first group so many times that that feels like a single unit of thought. In other words, that shouldn't feel like a dozen different notes. That should feel like one action that you tell your body to do, and it just slams through the whole thing. To me, I kind of think of it like tying your shoes, you know, where whenever you're learning how to tie your shoes, it was like you do this, then you cross them, then it's under, and all that kind of thing. But if you've been doing that for most of your life, like many of us have, your hands just kind of do the whole task. It just sort of feels like one motion. A good way to know you're doing that is, have you ever noticed if you like stop tying your shoelaces in the middle and then try to pick up where you left off, it's just weird. You kind of have to start over. That's how you know you've got that entire unit memorized as one motion. And that's how this stuff should be too. Rhythmically, this is sextuplets, meaning 6 notes per beat. So every one of the groupings of notes that we play per string takes place over the span of one beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Now, with that in mind, what you should try to do here is to really nail the crap out of the first note on each string. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Adding in a lot of emphasis to that first note, the one that's right there on the beat. It's got to make you sound a lot more in the groove and also help you keep up here in the right hand, because if you're just playing monotone, it's really easy to lose track of where the beat is. But whenever you have that big, strong emphasis, it's almost like you're a human metronome. You know, you're playing to yourself. You're feeling that impact. You're hearing that impact on the downbeat. Just got to make the entire thing a lot tighter and more groovy. Follow those tips and you're going to be shredding like a beast in no time. So there you go, guys, a tip-top neoclassical phrasing idea that you can use in your own playing. You got the pattern, now you just need to get the ruffly shirt and the pick and chops, and you're going to be on your way to being the next yin yang milkshake. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel and ring the bell for notifications every time I upload a new slice of fried gold. Go ahead and ring that bell right there. Yeah, thanks for that. And also be sure to grab those downloadable tabs and practice tracks over on my Patreon page at patreon.com/BenEllerGuitars. Plus you get that cool bonus lesson to go along with it today too. So don't delay, sign up today. Well guys, it's been fun as always, but I gotta get out of here and go clean the moats and polish the Ferraris and stable the horses. All the kind of stuff you do whenever you wear this kind of get-up. So it's time for me to go. But I recommend you guys get the hell away from the computer, grab your guitar, and go do some shredding. Less clicking, more picking.